happy Friday, and thanks for tuning in to RadioFreeRhinecliff.org. And this show in particular, correct me if I'm Norm, I'm your host, Norm. I'm thrilled to be here tonight once again with Mr. Mark Van De Carr.
The Mr. thing really scares me.
Yeah, does it?
Yeah.
Now, does that sound like what people would call your dad?
Yes, I keep looking for my dad or someone else.
Mr. Yeah, or somebody trying to sell you an extended warranty for your car.
Then it would be Mr. Mark.
Mr. Mark. Mr. Mark, what's with those extended warranty salespeople anyway?
They make a lot of money.
Yeah?
They make a lot of money. That's why when you're buying a car and the salesman, you're done with the salesman, you pick the car out, you like the car, you settled on a price. Then you go in to see the finance guy. Okay? Now, the finance guy, his job is to sell you like paint protection, undercoating, and what's the other thing? Oh, extended warranty.
Right.
Now, the salesman is telling you, this is the best car ever. You're going to love this car and all this stuff. And then you get into the finance guy and he goes, look, this thing's going to break.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you a ton of money. So you better get this, you know. But I'm not saying all of them, but about 99% of them are really a joke.
The extended warranties.
Yeah, because what they'll do is they'll either say a specified place, like they'll say, okay, you have to bring it back to the dealer to get fixed.
Oh, geez.
Okay, and there's always stuff that is not covered in the warranty. They say it's bumper to bumper. Well, it's bumper to bumper, but.
Right.
You know, and they make more money on those sometimes than they make actually on selling the car.
Egads.
Yeah, like, you know, if you're buying a Honda or a Toyota and they say, look, buy the extended warranty, it's good for, 6 years, 100,000 miles.
Mm-hmm.
The chances of you really needing anything in one of those cars in the first 60,000 miles are like 0. Now, if you're buying a Jaguar, if you're buying a Maserati or something like that, look at the extended warranty and see how much it is. You'll be scared. I know for an XJ, I had a customer with an XJS, bought it brand new, and he spent $4,000 on the extended warranty. But he actually beat him to death with it because it's a Jag, It was 10 years, 100,000 miles, and he killed him with it.
It's funny. Jaguars are notorious for needing a lot of service.
Always.
Right. I mean, the joke is like if you buy one, buy another one to use for parts.
No, buy one and buy a car that'll run. And they just they're. I always say it's one of the nicest cars to borrow from somebody.
And how do they stay in business if they're?
Because it used to be. Now it's getting rough, but it used to be when you drove into a driveway with a Jaguar, money.
Right.
This guy's doing really well. He must have a lot of money because he paid a lot of money for this, and he has 2 of them because one's always in the shop.
Right.
And so it just meant money. And
does it still?
Pretty much, yeah. The electronics is horrible. The motors are fine. The transmissions are fine. The rear end's fine. They drive really nice. They ride nice and everything.
Uh-huh.
But if it's electric, it doesn't work.
And what car now really has that cachet, the status of saying money? What popular car do you see around here that?
The Maserati, probably.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I think I saw a Maserati SUV. The other day.
Yeah. Everybody makes an SUV because everybody's been programmed they need one.
Right.
So it's like, and they get to make like an extra $20,000 and selling it as an SUV. At least. Really? Yeah. That's why Ford only makes the Mustang. That's it. Everything else is SUV, 4-wheel drive.
The Mustang, they make an electric Mustang, right?
Yeah.
Or is it a hybrid?
No, that's an electric. It's plug-in. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't driven one yet.
Do they make a Mustang SUV?
No, not yet.
Soon
to come. Yeah.
Wow. Yep. Well, in case anybody was under a rock, my guest here is Mark Van De Carr of M&M Automotive. He's been a car mechanic and a local businessman for like 40
years at the shop, and then there was 10 years before that in different dealers.
Right. Yeah. And he knows just about everything about cars. So if you want to, can we have people call in?
I wish.
Yeah. Well, you can call myself.
You can.
Well, don't
all right. If you have a question, call or text or send an email to the radio station. Text me or Jen or Matt, or just send an email to the radio station. We'll ask Mark. And I think we're going to start with somebody called in and left a message from right here, and we're going to start with us.
Hey, Norm. It's John Burton, home from here, same station. Number 1, congratulations on a great show. And number 2, I have a car question. You hear this? Wait, listen to this. That's the sound of cell phone hitting a $300 car tire, of which I have 4. And my question is this. If the fastest cars in the world have tires with no tread, is a $300 tire worth it? Or can I just buy a $99 tire? I think tires are a scam. Let me know. Congratulations.
Okay. As far as tires go, there's 2 things to be concerned about: the amount of wear and the performance of the tire. And the amount of wear is all controlled by how hard the rubber is.
Okay.
Okay. However, the harder the rubber, the poorer the performance.
Okay.
In other words, you slam on the brakes and it feels like you're riding on eggshells. It just like doesn't grab. Okay. The softer the tire is,
skids.
It skids.
Huh.
The softer the tire, the better it performs, but it wears faster.
Right.
And the thing with the tires are the different ratings are speed ratings. Okay, there's a wear rating and there's a speed rating.
Okay.
If you don't drive over 120 miles an hour for any extended length of time, just about any of the tires,
which is everybody in this booth except you.
Probably, yeah. And but if you carry a lot of load, you have to have a higher rated tire. The biggest problem we have nowadays is, for some reason, they decided that all tires should be really skinny sidewalls, like no sidewalls.
Okay.
Okay. All the old cars used to have a pretty tall sidewall. The nice thing about that is when you hit a pothole, the one with the tall sidewalls gives, and you don't wreck anything.
Right.
The one with not much sidewall, you usually pinch the tire, wreck the tire, and you bend the rim.
Eesh.
And that's something to remember when you're buying a new car, because some of the options will give you like a 40 series tire where the sidewall is only maybe about 3 inches.
Right.
Okay. And if you drive in New York City, almost every time you go to the city, you might pop a rim. I have customers that are like on their 3rd set of rims, just from hitting potholes.
Right.
Yeah.
And once the rim's bent, it's harder to keep air in the.
Once the rim's
tire.
bent, you either have to straighten it out or buy a new rim.
Right.
And it's just a crazy thing. But the big deal with the tires is it's just the off-brand. Some of the off-brand tires that are really good is Kumo's good. There's Cooper's decent. That's a decent
so
tire.
would those be more in sort of the $99 a tire range?
There's not very few tires that are in the $99 range anymore, unless
Okay.
you're buying for a bicycle or something. Yeah.
And
Everything has gone up.
Yeah, he said $300 a tire. That sounds
$300 a
exorbitant.
tires. Well, our race tires now are up to like $400 a piece.
Right.
Yeah, but $300 a tire. That's that's a lot of tires. Now, if you have any of these exotic cars like the Maseratis or whatever, the rear tires on some of the Porsches and the Maseratis are $1,000 a piece for the rear, because the rear are twice as fat as the front tires. So
Right.
they'll be like $900 a piece, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to scratch that off my list of
Yeah.
potential cars to
That's
get.
definitely not that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
and-
could see you in one.
Yeah, me too.
If somebody else was paying for it, you'd love it.
Sure, absolutely. So to his point about, race car tires don't have all that tread. They're flat.
Yes, but that's fine. The slicks that you run stick really well. They're very soft tires. They don't last very long, but they have no tread.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The deal with the tread is because of moisture. Okay. When we're racing, you're running the slicks that are totally no tread whatsoever. They just got these little dots in them, so you can tell how much is left. It can be raining out.
Little dots on the sidewall that shows you
on
the
the
wear.
tread, where the tread would be, just so you could see that there's more to go yet.
Okay.
And if it's raining and there's wet on the asphalt, it's amazing. You go to take off and the thing sticks, and it's just like the first time I took off racing in the rain. I'm like, this is awesome. However, if there's just enough water, it has no place to go, so it hydroplanes.
Right.
So it's like stick, and then, oh my God, I'm on black ice.
Right.
Then it slows down enough again, then it's stick, and oh my God, I'm on black ice.
Oof.
The thing is what to remember is when you're going into the winter, you want a decent amount of tread. Okay, you don't want to be right near the end. It's 230 seconds is the legal limit. Not much.
1/16.
Yeah.
That's not a lot.
No, it's not. that's legal. It's terrible. If you hit standing water, you'll hydroplane easy. Okay?
Right.
You can tell just by looking at most of the tires because they have a little bump that runs across the grain in about 4 spots around the tire. And as soon as you see that spot trying to hit the road, it's tire's done. You should get another tire. Okay.
Right.
If you're going to be driving in rain a lot, you want really decent tread.
Right.
A lot of people say, well, I'm going to run them until there's no tread left. Right. You can do that, but I can't tell you that causes so many accidents because you're riding along, it's sticking great, everything's fine. You hit a little puddle of water and the car comes up off and it's black ice.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hydroplaning. Now, has that happened to you much? Just sort of running cars on the roads?
No, because I make sure my tires are really good.
Right.
It's the best thing you can do because I always tell people once you hit the tree, or you go across the
Or
yellow
the
line and head on
snowplow.
into somebody else,
Yeah.
it's too late.
To,
You
to
can't
go back and
yeah.
get a good tire.
I can't tell you when I used to do the accident tows how many tows I would get when it snowed, all-wheel drive cars.
Right.
Because all-wheel drive cars will go with almost no tread. Step on it and it goes.
Right.
But it gets to a point, and then all of a sudden it has a mind of its own, and it just does what it wants to do.
Right.
So I know it's terrible to spend the money and stuff, but whatever tires you get, just to me, when they get down to like 4:30 seconds,
Right.
that's the end of the line for me. If not, if you want to drive them until they're bald, fine. Just realize that's what you have.
Yeah.
So when it rains, it's raining, and everybody's flying along, they have good tires. You try to go as fast as they do, you're probably going to wind up in the ditch.
Right. Now, as you know, I just got in an accident,
Right.
totaled my car.
Yeah.
It was snowy, terrible conditions.
Yeah.
And snowplow pulled out right in front of me, and I couldn't stop.
Right.
He didn't see me. He kept pulling out. I had great tires on this Subaru. It was all-wheel drive.
Right.
And anti-lock brakes.
Right.
Which didn't happen. They didn't, how you feel them working.
Right.
The anti-lock brakes didn't work. But everything else was okay, except I skidded, and the guy didn't see me, and I ran right into him.
It happens. Accident.
Yeah.
That's why they call them
So the car, I ended up running into the big rear wheel.
Right.
That's rear tire of this giant snowplow, which was a great place to cushion the blow for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it totaled the front end of the car. I mean, it was just crumpled.
Right.
Are there cars that are sort of more stronger in the front?
No.
No.
No, that's on purpose.
Why is that?
Because that nowadays you can get into accidents all the time, and you can be doing 70, 80, and most of the time you don't get hurt.
You can't.
Because what happens, the car crumples.
Right.
If the front of the car crumples, that takes away the energy that your body would have to absorb.
Okay.
Back in the 50s, you would go into the junkyard and you see a car and it has a dent in the fender. Guy died.
Right.
And people say, oh, that's when they built them with real metal. Yeah, that's not what you want.
That's not it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
The worst accident I saw where people walked away with almost nothing. One guy was with an old Buick was coming up out of Rhinecliff.
Mm-hmm.
And the other guy in a Prius was headed down. And one of them went over the line and head on. And they both said they were doing about 50. So that's 100 mile an hour impact. Okay. The guy in the Buick had something little with him. The guy in the Prius hurt his foot. That was it. But when you looked at the Prius, you couldn't tell it had a motor in the car because it was scrunched up right to the windshield. So Keith and I are looking at it, and it was designed so the engine would go under the car and absorb all the energy.
Wow.
And so the guy had very little wrong with him. It was really, when you saw the car, you thought he'd be dead. The weird thing was you can go over to the driver's door and open it and close it. Still open and close. So that meant the structural integrity of the passenger compartment is very good.
Right.
Before the windshield and before the rear window, that's all meant to fold in.
Right.
Supposed to, yeah.
Huh. And the Buick, not too much damage?
No, that was total.
Total. Both of them.
Yeah.
That's pretty high speed.
Yeah. Yep.
Happen to know the speed limit's 45 there. So
Yeah, I know.
all right. Well, let's go to next.
They didn't realize that, or they would have said 45.
Of course. Yeah. And do you do that? Do you do a lot of accident tows?
Not anymore.
How come?
there's a whole thing that goes on with that I decided to get out of.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Let's go to some questions from listeners.
Okay.
Dr. JB of Rhinebeck asks, what is the proper definition of double overhead cam? He's got a follow-up question. What does turbocharged actually mean?
Okay. Double overhead cam is exactly that. All the old engines used to be one cam.
What's a cam? What's a cam?
It's a shaft with lobes on it. And then as that shaft spins, it moves these rods up, the push rods. And then it would go over to the rocker arms. It makes the valves open and close. Okay, by turning that. Okay. Now,
I might be more lost now after that explanation.
Okay. Now, most of the newer cars the camshafts are up on the cylinder head.
Okay.
And they go directly on the valves. They don't have rocker arms and stuff. It's
okay.
Direct hit. Single overhead cam is one cam. Double overhead cam is two. They have an exhaust cam and an intake cam.
Okay. So there would be no need for a third or fourth cam.
No. Well, actually, they do use second cams, and they have different lobes on the same cam with rocker arms that actually change their length, so they can change how much the valves open, so it gives it better performance. They do that. The turbocharged thing, an engine is a pumps air, okay, and you compress the air, and when you compress the air, you get the compression up. You put gas in it, ignite a spark, and it runs, and you get power. Okay. Now, historically, if you wanted a lot of power, you had to have a big engine, pumping a lot of air all the time. Okay. And in order to keep it from running away, you had throttle plates, close the air off. So it's sitting there sucking like crazy, trying to get an air through a little tiny spot. Right. So it stays down to the idle. The problem is you're still running a lot of air through, and you still have to give it gas according to how much air it's getting. Okay. Now, nowadays, you have a small 4-cylinder, okay, and they use a turbocharger.
Okay.
The exhaust runs through the one part of the turbocharger and spins these fins, okay? On the other side, they have fins that suck the air in, okay? So it's like a pump. It builds up air. Like an extreme boost would be 25 pounds. That would be like a lot. Most of the stock cars are running about 17 pounds. When that happens, it makes the motor bigger.
Interesting.
Right? So you can get a ton of power out of it.
Because it's getting more air through there.
Right, you get more air through it, so you give it more gas and it gets more power.
And so the exhaust is running the turbocharge?
Yeah. So what happens is, with this type of setup, when you're not needing the power, you're not using the gas. Because there's very little air going in, naturally. And that's why nowadays you'll see, like, I have this Mustang, and it's a little tiny 4-cylinder, right? And it's 360 horsepower, 240 foot-pounds of torque at like 2,000 RPMs. The thing, it goes like crazy, right? And if you beat on it and you run it all over the place, you get like 22, 23 miles to the gallon, which not bad.
It sounds pretty good.
If you just have it out, I used to run them when I go out west, and I had this one that, you drive in the deserts and stuff, go kind of fast. And I beat this thing for 3 weeks, and I turned it in, and my average gas miles was 26 miles to the gallon.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So why would anybody not want to have a turbocharger?
The only thing I miss is that, the V8 kind of has a cool sound. that's it. Other than that,
the what? The V8?
Yeah, it has a cool sound to it. It's like, with this, there's no sound.
All right, let's hear it. Can you do the sound?
What?
What does it sound like?
My car?
Yeah, well, the V8 that you said has a cool sound.
No, you're not getting me to do that.
Come on.
No.
Well, I had to.
No, I got to practice first.
I had to ask. All right, good. Practice next time.
Yep.
All right, let's see. I've got. You said before we went on the air that that you used to do a lot of service for police cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you?
When I worked for the Chrysler dealer over in Kingston. Yeah.
Oh, and is that Chrysler dealer still there? I don't think so.
No, they went out of business. Now they're out by the thruway. By the thruway entrance there.
And were the cop cars Chryslers back then?
Yes, they were. They were all Chryslers back then. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was really you'd see crazy stuff. They would. It was funny because for years they were these big old Plymouth Furies. They were huge, right? Then they started with the Volare and the Diplomat, right? Those things, right? And they were such a piece of junk. The front ends used to fall out from underneath them. I mean, I'm serious. That car had more recalls than you could possibly imagine, right? So it was so funny. The service manager, guess what? All the police cars are going to the Diplomat format, And we all look at the other, go, this is going to be horrible. The wheels are going to fall off, you know? And he says, no, don't talk like that. You know, it's the police car, so I'm sure they beefed him up and stuff, right?
Right.
So the first one we get, service it, send it out. This guy's out on 209, and some guy goes ripping down at like 85, 90 miles an hour, right? So this guy stomps on it, and he goes out there, right? He gets up, he said he was up to about 130, okay? And a deer comes out. A deer comes out, so he slams on the brakes. All of a sudden, he says he feels this ungodly, everything's terrible, right? And he looks behind him, and you can see all these sparks. The front wheels came off. The front wheels came off, so they towed the thing back to the dealer. And on Monday, we go to work, and I go, hey, Don, look at this, right? They put the wheels like underneath the front of it, you know, and they set it down. Yeah, the upper control arms ripped off, and it just, you know. Yeah, it's those cars really get beat so bad. I mean, they'll sit there and idle for like 3 hours, and then a guy comes along, and he's going too fast. And if you're doing like 90, for him to catch up to you, he's got to do at least 120.
Oh, yeah.
Because the amount of time it takes him out and to get up to that speed, this guy's got like over a mile on you.
So how do the wheels fall off?
Well, the upper control arms are mounted to the frame. Okay. Well, Chrysler decided at that time that'd be a neat place to have this cheaper adjustment than the way they used to do it. Okay. And on the regular passenger cars, we were having trouble because they wouldn't hold alignments because this little plate would bend, you know. And we said, if it's bending, and the passenger cars at the time had much smaller tires. The police cars had fatter tires, bigger tires. And so with those, if you went fast enough and just nailed it, they would mess up. So they did a recall, another one, and, you know, they fixed it. But, yeah.
You guess. So how long were you working at the Chrysler dealership in Kingston?
6 years there.
Uh-huh. You must have been just a kid.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, I started at Hyde Park Motors. They're gone now. Yeah.
Hyde Park. And you were you raised just south of there in Wappingers Falls.
Yeah.
Hyde Park. Then you moved over to Kingston.
Yeah, the interesting thing in Hyde Park is Hyde Park started before cars. They used to service carriages and horses and stuff. And this guy comes along and he says, look, we got these cars we want you to sell. What we'll do is we'll leave a couple here and you sell them, and then we'll keep putting money back until you own the cars. And that's how they got started. Yeah.
Wow.
I worked with a guy who was 70 years old when I was 19. And he was there before
cars.
Before cars, yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Huh. So, and who was the first big manufacturer? Was it Ford?
Ford was a big first one, yeah.
Uh-huh.
He had really good insight and very good view of the large picture. He gave all his employees a big enough raise so they could buy a car.
Right.
And that was his thought. All right. And it not only worked so well, because what he didn't think was, if he gives everybody that much money, everybody else has got to give him that much money. So he sold a ton of cars.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. I love that.
Yeah.
Good business decision.
Yeah.
So you left Kingston. You came over here?
Yeah. No, I left Hyde Park Motors.
And went to Kingston.
Then I went to Duchess Dodge.
Where's that?
Down on Route 9.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So Chrysler to Dodge, were the Dodges, did they hold up?
They were okay for
the
the
cop
time.
cars now around here are Dodges.
No, Fords, most of them.
Fords?
Yeah.
Who makes the Charger and the Challenger?
Yeah, that's a Dodge, but a lot of them are Fords now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. That must be a huge contract for a car company.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
And kind of bragging rights, I would think.
To a certain extent.
But I thought they were Dodges around here. Did they switch from the Charger?
Some are
Challenger?
Fords, some are Dodges.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where do the state police run here?
Mostly Fords. Mostly Fords now. I see some Dodges, yeah.
And you don't do any of the service on those anymore?
I don't miss it, no.
Uh-huh.
No.
And any other funny anecdotes about...
They would do stuff like, they say, the guy says, look, you guys align this thing, it's out of alignment, and we've just been driving around on paved roads, because they would like to go off the road and they come bouncing off the curbs and stuff, to chase somebody. Right. So the guy says, we haven't been running this thing hard at all. And he says, oh, yeah, it won't go into first gear. He says, if you manually go to put it in first gear, it won't go down to second, but it just jams up. So I did the alignment. The alignment's off a mile. And I said, there's no way we sent this thing out this way. So I go to look at the gear shift to see what's up. There was a rock, about a 3-inch rock, that got kicked up and was lying on top of this thing and would jam the linkage up so they couldn't get it into first.
You guys. So when was the first automatic transmission introduced? Any idea?
Actually, Ford was very close to it with Model T. The only difference is the pedals controlled the bands in it that changed the gears. It wasn't until they came up with the hydraulics to have the hydraulics run it. And, he did quite a bit of stuff. The first one, I'm not sure. I had a 1920, I think it's a 22 Auburn in the shop. And that was an automatic. So, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, that's funny. And now it's going, the standard transmission, so-called, the stick shift is going out of fashion.
Because they can control the automatics now. With computers, they can control it so good. It's so efficient.
Right. So I'm looking for a new used car.
Right.
And two different people have said, oh, well, I've got a stick shift car. And you can get an extra good price on it because people don't know how to drive a stick anymore.
That's the best theft deterrent.
That's what?
Theft deterrent.
Yeah, best theft deterrent because no 18-year-old knows how to do that.
On YouTube, someplace, there's a guy, they had one of the cameras, and there's a guy carjacking somebody, right? And he throws the guy out of the car, and he gets in the car, and he can't drive it. He winds up jumping out of the car, running away.
And your Mustang, is it automatic?
Yeah.
Do you prefer automatic?
I'd like a standard, except all my cars are standard, so I wanted one car that I can go to the city and...
All your race cars are standard.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many gears do they typically have, race car?
Most of the cars that we run will be just a 4-speed. That's all.
And that's enough.
Yeah, well, the car only weighs 910 pounds.
Okay.
And they're like 200 horse.
I mean, in some of these cars I'm seeing, they have like 6 speeds.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you need so many speeds?
The engine has a sweet spot where it has the most torque and the most horsepower. And with the different speeds, you can keep it there.
And the automatic is not as good at keeping it in that sweet spot?
Well, it depends how old the automatic is.
Okay.
The new ones are pretty good.
In the sweet spot, I mean, most of them, they have a tachometer, measures the RPMs.
Right.
Do people use that, or do they go by sound? I guess by people, I mean you.
To me, I go mostly by feel, how it feels.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the advanced class stuff.
Yeah.
And how did it feel? I bumped into you a couple of weeks ago. You're heading down to Georgia for a race.
Yeah.
How did that race feel? How'd you do?
First day I did okay. Second day, I don't know. Somebody else was driving, not me, because I did really terrible second day. But it was interesting because we had 2 Formula B cars. That one he just built from the ground up, and then my brother. I blew up part of his motor last year, so I helped him. We fixed that, but it was during the winter, so we never got a chance to try any of these out. Now, there's nothing worse than driving 18 hours to get there than not have the car run. That's bad,
Right.
So I had this other Formula car that I bought. I got a deal on. I bought this, and it dawned on me 3 days before we were leaving. I said, we should bring my car as a spare car, And my one friend was saying, no, you're not going to. I said, we haven't run them. Well, come to find out, he didn't run his at all. I thought he ran it up and down his driveway. It sounded good in the shop, so that's it.
Right.
So we went down there, and his never ran, so we ran mine. So it's a good thing of course, we had to spend 16 hours making a setup so 3 Formula cars would fit in the same trailer.
Right,
so
right.
We did that, but,
What a blast. And what kind of a race was it?
It's a autocross, just a solo 2. It's like cones.
Okay,
All
so
cornered.
They set up in a big corporate parking lot or something.
Yeah, it was at a speed place they have down there.
Okay.
Autocross is basically like a drag strip with no straights, all corners.
Okay.
Yeah, and you don't go that fast. I mean, you might hit 90 on it maybe on a good day.
Not that fast.
No, that's not that fast.
That sounds like kind of a fun format.
It's great.
All the curves, not a lot of straights.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun because with autocross, if you miss, you hit a cone. So you can drive 99% of the car all the time.
You mean you just flat out?
Because if you make a mistake, you hit a cone.
Right.
Most of the time, if you make a mistake racing, you lose the car or get hurt or whatever.
Right. And so in this, injuries are rare?
They don't happen.
That's great.
Very rare. I mean, so rare. It's like, yeah.
Huh.
Well, they have a million safety rules.
Okay.
From setting up the course to corner workers to everything. Yeah.
And what does it cost to enter one of these races?
It's cheap. It's like a national race like that would be $75 for the weekend.
That's not bad.
No, it's
and you brought 3 cars.
That's why I can do it.
Well, I mean, the cars must be a financial outlay. I mean, it must cost a bit
crazy.
to.
No, not crazy money. I mean, these guys, they have a ton of money in their cars. The cool thing is,
These guys, the other people down there.
No, my brother.
Oh, your brother.
My brother and my friend. This car I picked up, it was like ridiculous cheap. It was $3,000.
Nice.
And
you want to sell that to me? I'm looking for a new car.
Yeah, you'd have a problem on the road.
Yeah.
The reason I bought it was it used to be my nephew's car, and the guy who used to be president of my club, Jerry Bowden, was an amazing mechanic, an amazing race car mechanic, and he told my brother that he would help, my nephew build this car. And he built the car, and he built the engine out of junk parts. He's going around his garage, and he says, here's an engine block. Yeah, these pistons will fit it. He goes, but technically they're illegal because they're 10.5 to 1 compression instead of 8.5 to 1 compression, right? So he built this motor 10 years ago. And I changed to another class higher than mine so I could race with those guys, okay? The first day when I was driving good, we were all 1/10 of a second apart. So it was really awesome.
Wow.
So when I get done modifying it, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Really good.
And how much time do you spend working on this?
A lot of hours.
And where do you get the parts? You order them online, or does a part guy come around?
No, you order them online. There's places that sell them just for that stuff.
You ever go to junkyards and get parts?
Not for that, no.
Did you used to do that more? I remember being a kid and going to junkyards looking for car parts.
At a time,
and hubcaps.
Now it's not worth it anymore.
Right.
Most of the junkyards are getting so much money, you'll wind up paying more by the time you go down and take it off and all that stuff. Right. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, I got a crazy question. My friend Gina has loaned me her truck while I'm shopping for a car, which is like almost a full-time job. It's a lot of work shopping for a dang car.
Yes.
And the strap, the seat belt, has the seatbelt part sort of slides up and down on the strap.
Right.
And the strap usually has a little plug that goes in to keep the seatbelt part from sliding all the way down to the floor. They sell what? That little part?
Yeah, the little plug.
I went to the car part store yesterday in Kingston. The guy's like, no, you got to buy the whole thing.
No, you don't.
Okay.
No, you don't.
Good.
Ask Ann, she'll find it.
Okay.
Because we've done them before.
You have?
Yeah.
And it seems like it'd be a $1.37 kind of part.
Yeah.
And just sort of a rivet.
Nowadays, maybe $3.
Yeah. And has the cost of everything just gone through the roof?
Yes. Absolutely.
Why do you think that is?
Because they can.
Because they can.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
All you got to do is have an excuse.
Right.
The excuse was COVID.
Yeah.
Right. And then once they started with COVID, they say, we don't have to give them good service anymore.
Right.
Because now they're just happy that you're still in business and you'll do it.
And
then it comes into and it gets worse. It just gets worse as it goes on. Look what's going on with Central Hudson. Is that pathetic or what? Right? That's pathetic. Not to get off, the car thing. Oh, it is the car thing. Because I can't imagine what's going to happen when everybody has a plug-in.
Right.
If everybody has a plug-in and the lights go out, you can't even go to where you can get lights.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, that's what happened in Texas. That's one of the reasons a lot of people died down there when the power went out and all that stuff. That's because if you have an electric car and it's not charged, let's say it's charged a little.
Right.
And in the winter, they don't do as well because they have to warm the batteries up.
Right.
Before you can go. And it's a problem.
Oof.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of winter, we've got a loyal listener who wrote in and asks, how can you defrost a lock when you can't get the key in?
Okay. If you have one of the easiest, you spray it with a lock spray, but that's not going to do it. They have a de-icer that you can use for the locks, but I don't like using those because it messes up the tumblers and stuff. So what you can do is take a cigarette lighter, okay? And don't heat it up so you burn your fingers or you melt, you melt the little plastic thing on the key. You just heat that up a little bit. Put your hand around the thing, the keyhole, and you just blow on it a little bit, and then just kind of work that in, and the heat will come out of the key. You'll do it maybe 3-4 times, but a lot of times then it'll turn.
Wait, you're heating up the key and putting it in?
Yeah, with a cigarette lighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's eventually melting its way in.
Exactly. You just got to get enough heat in there that it works.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm pretty sure the listener was in Florida also, which makes the question that much more fun.
Yep.
All right, let's see. What other questions do we have? Oh, this is a good one. Listener Renee N. says tire pressure gauges. The pressure gauge is attached to the pumps. You put 4 quarters in, you blow up your tires.
Right.
Are they trustworthy?
It's air. As far as how much?
But the pressure gauges that are attached to the air.
Most of the time, not. No.
Most of the time, not.
Most of the time, not.
Huh. So
Usually they're off by like maybe 2 or 3 pounds. That's an average thing for them to be off. The problem is with tire pressure monitors, you have a hard time getting it to stay out because they're not,
right.
they're not accurate. Yeah.
Right. So she asked, should she bring her own tire pressure gauge?
Absolutely.
And that begs the question, are those more accurate than the ones at the...
Yes, they are.
Okay.
And the other thing you can do is, on most cars now, you can see what the pressure actually is. You look at your gauge, this is what it is, that's what the car says it is, and you make the adjustment.
Okay.
It's either high or low.
She had a follow-up question.
Okay.
Could she blow her tires up sort of 2 pounds higher than the recommended pressure, or 4 pounds or whatever, with the idea that, well, they're always leaking air a little bit, and this will settle into the correct, sort of like a mom buying a kid clothes that are 2 sizes too big?
No, stop the leak. Stop the leak. The problem is that if it's leaking, there is an issue.
Okay.
Okay. And at some point in time, you're going to forget, and you're going to be out there riding along. And
so if you blow your tires up to 36 pounds, say PSI, and you run them for like 4 months or whatever, and it's 32, it goes down to 32, that's not leakage?
Yeah, it is leakage.
Okay.
The thing is this, most tires, as far as what you can put into the tire, okay, it's written right on the tire what the maximum pressure is. You can put the maximum pressure in, no problem.
Right.
And you can ride it around forever, no problem. But if you have a tire pressure light, chances are it's going to come on.
Okay.
And then once it's on, then it's like, okay, is it on because it's high? Is it on because these 3 tires are high and this one's flat?
Are there tires that never lose pressure?
Most of the time, it's not the tire. Most of the time, if it's a tire, it's a nail, screw, something went through the tire.
Okay.
And if it's not the tire, it's either where the valve stem goes in, where the tire pressure monitor comes through.
Okay.
Or the rim gets corrosion on the inside.
So if all of those things are tip-top, then you can have a tire that never loses its pressure.
I wouldn't say never. Once in 6 months.
I mean, assuming atmospheric stability.
Yeah, once in 6 months. In 6 months, you might be down like a pound or something.
Okay, and how come if all those other things are perfect?
You got me. They're not perfect.
Because they're not perfect.
They're not perfect. Perfect as you can get them. Yeah.
Right. So
inside the tire, there's a skin on the inside of the tire. And that skin is what keeps the air from going through the tire. And
through the rubber of the tire?
Yeah, because inside the tire you have structure. You have metal.
So the rubber is porous? The rubber itself?
It is to a certain extent. So inside the tire they have like a smooth layer in there. And that's why sometimes you can run your tire flat, okay? And the tire looks okay. But you bring it to the guy and the guy says, look, this tire's garbage. Because when he took it off the rim, in that protective seal in there, okay, is eaten up. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm trying to envision that. So how does that seal get inside the tire?
When they make them.
Okay.
When they make them. And what happens is, that's another thing. You have to be, when somebody puts a tire on, they have to be very careful. Because where the bead is, if you break into that bead, that is where that seal starts.
What's the bead?
The bead is where the tire goes against the rim.
Okay. You actually put a bead of some material there?
We usually put some sealer there.
Okay.
Just in case it starts. What happens is, though, if they break that skin when they're putting the tire on, you'll be running the tire, and about 3 months later, you have a bubble in the side of the tire. You didn't hit a hole, you didn't hit anything, but air got in between those layers, and it messes the tire up. Yep. Yeah.
Why would a bubble mess up the tire?
Because the air got into where it's not supposed to.
Okay.
It got past that seal.
Gotcha. Past that seal.
Yep.
All right. So I'm not sure if you answered. I didn't realize. So she should not blow her tire up a couple pounds extra.
A couple pound extra isn't going to hurt anything. She could actually, like I say, go up to the maximum pressure that's written on the side of the tire.
Right.
Okay. Generally, I mean, 2 pounds is fine. 2 pounds won't hurt it.
4 pounds.
Right? It depends how their system's made up. The problem is if you rely on the tire pressure light,
Yeah.
okay, and you put it up too high and the light comes on, then pretend you don't have that light anymore and just check them like once a week.
Okay. Now my light was in the car. I told her was always on.
Yeah.
The tire pressure.
The monitors were shot. Yeah.
Okay. And where are the monitors? The monitors are in the tire?
In the tire, yeah.
Are they inside the tire, or are they connected to the
Inside the
rims or
tire.
the wheel?
Inside the tire. Now, not all systems work that way. Some systems work off the anti-lock brake system.
Okay.
What it does, it measures the speed of the tire. The more air in the tire, the bigger the tire is. And if the speed of the tires don't match exactly, they'll turn the tire pressure light on.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty high tech.
Yeah, but it's an awesome system because nothing goes wrong with it.
And
as long as the ABS system is working, it's good.
Right.
The problem with the tire pressure monitor systems, they have batteries in them. They get so old, and then the batteries are shot. And then you got to take all the tires off and put new monitors in, and then you have to program them and all that stuff.
And so this thing, it's attached to the inside of the tire somehow?
The monitors, yeah. That's like where the most of them are right where the
stem.
Where you put the air in. Yeah, the stem holds it in place. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just amazing. So I'm just thinking about this. You must be learning new things all the time as technology advances.
Every 3 years, every 3 to 4 years, it's like a new game. Because that's basically how the models run.
Right.
So every 3 years, it's like another whole,
Are there things that have gone out of wide usage that you miss? You're like, oh, I wish that technology was back and they hadn't ditched it.
Most
to
of
move
it was garbage.
So by and large, the advancements are good.
Everyone says, "Oh, I wish I had the old car." They don't remember how bad the old cars were. They don't. They were really pretty bad. There was a time, in the 60s, it was a big deal that a car went 100,000 miles. That was like huge. Most of them didn't go over 100.
Right.
99, and then just clocked back to zero and went again, and so it's just, now 250,000, 300,000 happens a lot.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at a used Subaru Outback. It's got 192,000 miles.
192?
Yeah.
No.
The price is right.
No.
No.
How much?
It's like $7,200.
No.
No.
Absolutely not.
That's good. Will you come with me to look at some of these cars and talk me out of making bad decisions?
Oh yeah.
And why do you say that? No. I mean, that's just too? I mean, it seems like a lot of miles to me.
If it was for sale for $3,000, $4,000, okay. But
right.
192,000.
Yeah.
Unless he can show me receipts that he put a new motor in at like 150,000.
No, none of that.
Yeah, no.
I asked.
No.
No new head gasket either, which supposedly is a problem with
that's
Subarus.
A problem with a lot. Yeah.
How about 131,000? See, these are the cars I'm looking at.
131's not too bad, but in that car, if that was a Honda,
right?
Okay, if it was an Accord or a Civic, and it had 132,000 on it,
right?
Awesome.
I saw one. I actually tried to buy one. Somebody else overbid.
Yeah.
Which was a Subaru 2017 with 91,000.
Right.
But it was like 16 grand.
That's crazy.
That's crazy too?
That's crazy.
See, when can you come with me? When can you come out with me?
I go with you.
And help me?
Look, it's just everything's gotten expensive.
Yeah.
Okay? The thing is, you should really be looking for like a Honda or Toyota or something, really.
Why not a Subaru? I thought you liked all the Japanese cars.
The Subaru's okay.
Right.
But it's not like if that was a Honda with 192,000 on it.
Right.
And I drove it and it seemed like it was okay, I might say, okay, this is good.
Huh.
Because I see them all the time. I see fits all the time where I'll have, 230, 240, 50, or more, and they're fine.
Okay.
Absolutely fine. Yeah.
So so this, a Fit is one of the cars that has a lot longer longevity?
Yeah. Yeah. They don't make them anymore.
Oh, they don't.
No, they don't make them anymore because they claim they stopped making them because nothing went wrong with them, right? So they weren't getting service money from them. And the other thing is that it was they said they weren't making enough. So what I didn't understand is just charge more money, you know,
Right.
charge another $2,000 a piece,
Right.
you know, because once you own one, it's my brother bought one, 52 miles to the gallon on the road.
Right. You told me that before, and I saw a Fit. It was not cheap. It was like $15,000 or something.
What year?
Oh boy, I can't remember all this. It was not that old. It was like maybe 2019.
How many
2020. Oh geez. I actually wrote this down. I got
See, if I was with you, I would have been beating you overhead. This is it. You're buying this.
It seemed to have a lot of room. I schlep around a lot of stuff.
Right.
So I need space
It's not
in
a
the
luxury
back.
car. No.
No, it's not a luxury car.
Right.
But I'm not a luxury car guy.
They just do very well. They just do exceedingly well.
Huh.
Yeah. Everything's cheap.
And so you like that much better than the Subaru Outback?
Yeah.
Because that's the car I looked at. I'm like, oh yeah, I could see myself in this.
Except for one problem. What will the Subaru get for gas mileage?
Oh, 22, 26, thereabouts.
The Fit on a bad day will get like 34.
Right.
On a good day, 52.
And in terms of service, they just run and run and run.
They very little.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to identify
You do have to change the oil, however, Norm. And you do have to keep it full of oil.
I know.
I know. I'm just thinking back in the Mini days.
Oh, the Mini. I saw Mini Cooper for sale. Of course. I was like, oh, Mini Cooper.
No.
I loved my Mini Cooper so much. Yeah, I remember you had an intervention. You said you'd stop.
We're maybe doing it again.
You're going to stop servicing my Mini. Yes, we get a question from the gallery here.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Say I was ready to part with my Subaru that I love.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe I want to be cool. let's just say I feel like okay. And I'm petite, so I have a hard time seeing sometimes.
Yeah.
So would I want to get like a pickup truck, or like what kind of cool vehicle would you recommend that's not, I would never drive a BMW or a Mercedes kind of car?
Miata.
Really?
Yes.
To be cool?
Yeah.
All right.
It's a little convertible.
Yeah, I'm
You
familiar
can put a
with
trailer
that.
hitch on it. You can put a trailer hitch on it.
can.
You can put, they will take a trailer hitch.
I want to see you with a trailer
You can
behind
you can tow one of those 5x7 trailers. So you can go to the lumber yard, get a bunch of sheets of plywood and stuff.
It's like you know me.
Yeah, that's what I did. That's what I used to. My one race car used to be street legal, so I used to put the trailer on that and go to Williams Lumber and get about 12 sheets of plywood and stuff.
Right.
And
Say I wanted enough room for
now you
more
want
than
room.
2 people. No, I want to be cool.
Yeah, but you want to have
And maybe I want more than, just me and Matt.
a 2-door
Because
Civic.
I have to take him food shopping.
Yeah, 2-door Civic.
2-door Civic?
Yeah.
That's my cool car?
That's not very sexy.
No, you're not thinking of the 2-door. Look at the 2-door Civic. There.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Serious. Yeah. That you can also put a trailer hitch on that too. Yep.
All right, well, thank you.
Great. I can't wait to see what you put in your trailer. All right, I get another question. Listener Kimmy M asked about weather stripping. I guess it fell off or pulled off or something.
Yeah.
And she got some new weather stripping somewhere. Should she put that on herself or have it professionally done?
It depends what kind of car and what strips.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because they're all different,
Right.
It would really be a good idea just to have somebody do it, because sometimes the strips don't come with the clips that hold them on. Sometimes you have to order those separate.
Oh, it's not just glue?
Some of them are glue.
Okay.
But some of them are glue, and then they'll have a clip on each end. And you also have to make sure it's super clean.
Right.
Well,
I can't imagine it would cost a lot to have it professionally installed.
No.
So that's the answer we're going with.
If I had to guess, I would say like $20, $30 maybe.
Okay. Good. All right. We've got another question. Listener Blair O says, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Says, if a leprechaun needed a car, what kind of car should he get?
Oh.
Yeah.
Then he's lucky. So if he's lucky, I have him buy a Maserati. Oh, he's lucky.
There you go.
He must have that pot of gold, right?
Yeah. And so if you had a pot of gold, would you get a Maserati?
No.
Nah.
No. What
would you get? Money's no object.
I would build stuff.
Okay.
I build
which you're already doing.
Right, but I would, building it and then building it with an unlimited budget is like very different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So would you, I mean, you kind of have a staff now, but if you were building with an unlimited budget, I'm guessing you'd have a dedicated staff to help you create these cars.
No.
You like doing it all.
I like doing
every
it
little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the listener Blaireau sent in the answer to the question. You got it wrong. It was not Maserati. It was a Mini O Cooper.
Really? Mini O Cooper.
It's like poor St. Patrick's Day humor. Mini O Cooper, which reminds me of the Cookie O Puss. Does anybody remember that?
Yes.
Who
doesn't know that?
Me?
Fudgy the Whale.
Me?
right there.
I don't
It
know.
was Fudgy the Whale done up in green by the Carvel Ice Cream Company.
Brody Ski Mountain used to dye the whole mountain green.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I don't
right.
know if they still do it anymore.
And
but
didn't Chicago used to like dye the river green?
Yeah, river green.
Yeah.
But Brody would do the entire mountain green. Yeah.
Huh? Where was Brody?
In just across near Massachusetts, near what's the other ski place right near it?
Right.
Can't remember.
All right. Well, we just heard the the tone, which reminds us it's shaming time. Who didn't turn off their ringtone? Shame. Oh, somebody out there. All right, it's not y'all with no shaming. Carfax. So I'm looking for used cars. They all have this Carfax thing. Is that worth it?
I wouldn't rely on it.
Okay.
We check cars out for people all the time. And
You charge for that?
Yeah, we get an hour.
Okay.
We had a woman that was going to buy a Toyota Corolla from a Toyota dealer down in Newburgh.
Uh-huh.
And they said, we have the Carfax. It's never been hit, yada, yada, and all this stuff. I said, look, you should bring it up, She brought it up, and this thing was a wreck. Not only had been hit, was repaired very badly. Pieces were missing. And it's like, we don't see it constantly, but we see it a lot. And the problem is, once with the used car, once you sign on the dotted line, it's yours. And they do have the lemon law, but it's not so easy.
It's not.
No, it's not like, hey, this thing's a lemon, take it back. And then if you put miles on it, then they get so many dollar per mile.
Oh, geez.
And
how is it made difficult, this lemon law?
Well, it's
Just a lot of red tape? Or?
They'll bring it in and they'll say, well, we'll fix it. So, okay. So they fix it and it's not fixed. You get home, you're calling them again. And you'll go through a long-term arguing. They say it's fixed. You say it's wrong. And I've never seen it go smooth. The only time I saw it going smooth, one of the guys I raced with bought one of those Datsun Z cars, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Spent a ton of money for it. And he gets the thing up there, and he wants me to do special alignment because he was going to race it, right? So I'm up there. I have it in the shop. In the shop, the lights are very, very telling, okay? So I look at the side of this, and I go, hey, this car's been painted. And he just picked it up, right? So he says, I said, take a look. So he looks at the side of it, and he goes, oh, my God. So he calls the guy up, and he says, look, this car's been painted. The guy, no, it hasn't. So he says, well, bring it down. So he brings it down there. He brings it inside. He brings a flashlight with him, just puts it on the side. You can see it. The body work wasn't even that good, right? So he goes, I want a new car.
What does that mean? It's been painted. What does that make you think?
Fell off the trailer.
Oh.
Or at the end of the assembly line.
Trailer.
Or, at the end of the assembly line, something happened and nobody was driving it and it just kept banging into things.
Uh-huh.
I worked for Chrysler once when they dropped a car, taking it off the trailer.
So you mean like literally fell off the trailer?
Right, exactly.
And not like it was stolen.
And the thing is, once it's had damage past a certain point, they're not allowed to sell it without stating that it's a damaged car.
Right.
Because it's not a new car. So, lucky for him, they were arguing. So he went to a couple races with it, and he decided he didn't like the car.
Uh-huh.
So then he told them, no, I just want you to take it back. And they started to give him a hard time. So he said, look, I'm going to hire an attorney and I'm going to take you to court, right? The owner calls him up the next day and says, no problem, we'll take it back. They had to pay him his sales tax, everything. His registration fee, everything.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. But, yeah, that can happen. Yeah.
Oof. Buyer beware. So what do you said it's an hour. If I find a car I bring it to you.
Yeah.
You'll check it over top to bottom. It takes an hour.
It depends. No offense, Norm, but sometimes
if it's got
sometimes if you come in, I'll open the hood and go, nope.
right.
Or I'll take it for a ride and go, nope. That's no charge.
Okay.
But if you decide the price is good and we look at it and everything looks good, just taking a visual, then we pull the wheels off, we pull a plug, we do all kinds of stuff. Go through everything. Yeah.
And you said that's an hour. What is an hour at that shop?
$135.
$135.
Yeah.
Okay. Not bad for that kind of expert opinion.
Oh, spending $135 looking at a used car. I can't tell how many come in and I go, okay, how much did you pay for this? And they tell me and I almost start crying for them, because it's just like, it's horrible. What I find really disgusting is there's people selling cars at the low end, right? Like $3,000, $4,000 down, right? And they will sell an utter piece of garbage, So how can you take this person's last $3,000? You know what I mean?
Right.
And know that it's not going to work.
Right.
And they do that all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And this is the other thing. If they say that we service their car all the time, don't believe them. Bring it in and I get that all the time. Oh, this guy says, you service it all the time. And I go, really? He goes, yeah, he's going to bring it up. And I look at him. Dude, I don't even remember you. I don't remember your car.
Right.
And then I look at it and I said, no, I know we didn't do this stuff.
Right.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Buyer beware.
Yeah, it seems tough.
Yeah.
And I feel like a sucker. I'm talking to these guys. I'm like, oh, he seems so nice. And they're all professional salesmen.
Salesmen, you ever see them? Screw you. No. What the hell's the matter with you? Right?
The grumpy salesman.
The grumpy salesman.
That's why I'm not in a sales job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So any other big tips for somebody, let's say a loyal listener who's...
When you're looking for cars, okay, the car that they said, oh, my grandmother drove it to town and back.
Yes.
Okay. Don't buy it.
Yeah, that was the $15,000 Subaru
because
I liked.
The problem with that is, how many miles on that Subaru?
It was like 91 or...
That's not grandma's car.
Yeah.
No. Grandma does like 1,000 miles a year.
Right.
So, but it's just, the thing is, just one of the things you can do, open the trunk, pull the carpets up to see if it's been flooded.
Okay.
Because it'll leave watermarks in there. And
Flooded.
if it's seen watermarks in there, don't buy it.
Right.
Okay. You open the doors. The top and the bottom hinge should look the same. If the bottom hinge is rusted and the top hinge looks like new, it was in the water. Okay. And if you ever see that, just run.
But that's a lot of water. I mean, how often does that happen?
Where do you think all those flood cars go? You think they scrap them? No, they put them on a truck and they bring them someplace where they haven't had a flood.
From Louisiana to Kingston.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, we're nearing the end of the hour.
Okay.
Once again, everybody, thanks for listening.
Yep.
Mark Van De Carr, thank you so much for being here.
It was fun.
Any last words of advice? Oh, wait, I've got a trivia question. Oh no, I already did that one. Last words of advice for me. Can't I get a Mini?
Huh?
Please, can I get a Mini Cooper?
You get a raise?
No, I'm not going to raise.
No, did you get a raise?
No, I didn't get a raise.
Then no Mini.
Right. All right, someday soon.
They're not all horrible. Don't get me wrong.
All right.
If you promise you check the oil.
I do. I always check the oil. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Mark Van De Carr, thanks for coming. Everybody have a happy Friday night and a great weekend.
Good deal.
6 o'clock on the dot.